over 150 members of parliament who are also backing the efforts of the ministry, because we agree and appreciate the fact that the many effects of climate change, they are affecting ourselves as members of parliament, even directly, because we are bearing the many effects of climate change in our constituencies. The scarcity of water, the lack of information in terms of accurate weather conditions, all these ultimately they affect the livelihoods of the people in the constituency where we represent. And it is for that reason why we are also excited that there is significant progress which is now being made with regard to the Ministry of Green Economy, because it sits at the center of both economical and social development. And we are excited that the budget is slowly increasing. One might say the percentage is very low, but we are coming from, but we are also coming from zero.
Okay.
And we also agree that we could do better, but we are coming from zero. But what is more important also are the various pieces of registration, the various negotiations which the ministry has made with bilateral partners, just to ensure that we start this ministry, which was from nowhere, it starts to grow, and we are able to see significant progress in terms of how we are managing the green economy as a country. So we are excited and we remain committed as a caucus to support the efforts of the ministry.
Okay.
Now, coming to the head that is under consideration, I chair the parliamentary committee on chiefs and local governance, and which is head number 29. I think we started sitting a week ago, and there's been very significant progress in terms of the submissions that are coming from various stakeholders. We started with a policy statement from the Minister of Local Government, Housing and Chiefs Affairs, Honorable Charubaro, who gave us the vision of the ministry, what the ministry wants to achieve in the financial year under discussion, and what the ministry has scored in the previous year. And he unveiled the budget which the unveiled for his ministry. And you might, we're at a point where everyone is looking forward to the expansion of rural development, where CDF sits. And you heard the good news around the expansion of CDF to close to 40 million, from 36 million to 40 million, and all the eyes are sitting on how this CDF is going to be spent, considering the fact that this is the first time that we have seen a government that has opened up rural development. And the major discussion that is taking place now in this head is around ensuring that the CDF is used prudently, and the results become visible, which for me, the results are already visible, especially in the rural constituencies.
Okay. Well, quickly, let's talk about other stakeholders. I know you've talked about the minister that appeared and presented a policy statement. What other issues were coming from various stakeholders regarding the submissions that you are receiving? And quickly, we move on to what we are discussing this morning. Okay,
so basically the main issues that are coming from the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, they are very happy that there's been an increase on CDF. That cannot be taken away, and everyone is appreciating, because they are seeing where we are coming from, and the numbers do not lie in terms of how much government has scored in terms of particularly expanding the rural areas. But from the various stakeholders that came, one of the great issues that they are noting where they might be proposing a variance was an observation which was made that there hasn't been a significant, or there was no allocation which was made towards the storm drainages, which also touches the concern of the Ministry of Green Economy. The weather pattern is changing every day. We have continued to see a lot of floods, especially in the urban areas. The budget did not demonstrate allocating money towards storm drainages, and also the budget, unfortunately, it did not demonstrate allocating resources towards bridges. And you are aware that as a result of the climate conditions that we are in, a lot of bridges are being washed out in our communities. And even the position which was given by his ministry already, it shows that we might have a lot of rains this year, and we might anticipate a lot of bridges to be washed away. So the stakeholders that are coming in my committee, they are making a proposal that we need to make variations We need to move some of the monies to go towards the construction of bridges. So generally, I think that is the main issue which is coming out from most of the stakeholders. It's an appreciation and an understanding that the main areas where we need to vary a bit of resources is to go towards the bridges. Because we, the members of parliament who represent rural areas, I will mention that there's been no strategic investment in bridges in the rural areas. And as a result of not having access points, there's disruption of a lot of social services. We're at a point where there's significant construction of schools, clinics, roads, but without access points, bridges, you cannot achieve this. We're at a point where government is doing a lot of social protection programs, cash for work programs. People cannot go to these rural areas to go and administer this program. So
I know
that is the main issue which is coming out.
You are very passionate about your committee, and we're glad that those submissions are being made, and that's the reason why we have this sector budget analysis to make sure that all these bottlenecks are corrected for the benefit of the millions of Zambians out there. Let me get to the PS here. Doc, the biggest issue that we have in our country is the plastic disposal. I think the minister also did talk about this issue. Now the big question is, what specific measures do you think your ministry should take to ensure that the effective implementation of the physical measures aimed at discouraging excessive use of plastic, and what alternative can be considered to replace plastic? I know there was it an SI that was passed? Still some shops are not complying to those directives.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Plastics are a very big problem for our country, especially in urban areas. They are responsible for most of the flooding that we see in these areas. But apart from that, plastics are very bad for the environment because they are persistent. They remain in the environment persistently to cause massive pollution. So the options we have on the table is, one, to consider banning the plastics completely, but that normally comes with some other considerations. But yes, an SI was passed, was it in 2018, 2019, not banning the plastic, but to put a tax on it, so that if you want to ask for plastic in a shop, you must pay for it. And also under Zambia Environmental Management Agency, we have what is called Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR regulations. Through that window, we are supposed to talk to the producers of the plastics and all the users, major users of the plastics, such as the chain stores, to see how we can reduce the amount of plastics that are in circulation. Yes, we are doing our bit through ZEMA. But if you look at some of the players, like if you look at game stores have stopped using plastic on their own. If you go to game today, you are not going to be given a plastic carrier bag. They use paper bags there. So through ZEMA, I think we'll enhance our efforts to round up all these producers and users of plastics and see how best we can deal with the situation. There's already a good example done by Zambia Breweries. Zambia Breweries established a CEO called Manja Pamos. So what basically that CEO does is to follow the packaging from Zambia Breweries to its end life, where they go and collect from the taverns, those chibuku, shaky packs, they collect and power them and then sell to the recyclers. Okay. So we have some work to do there as government to try and see how we can reduce the burden. But the first effort we can try to do also is to get the producers and major users on the table and see if, even without the punishing law, voluntarily are people willing to come on board and see how we can begin to reduce the amount of plastic in circulation. Okay. Of course, the option of banning is also on the table. So again, there's a consideration towards that.
Okay. Honorable Twambo, you are a caucus, and these are issues that you champion. What's your stance on the use of plastic? We know how these plastics have polluted our environment.
Yeah. Thank you so much, moderator. Just like PS has mentioned, we as a caucus, we are also on firm grounds. Actually, within the caucus framework, we've been championing the ban of plastic because we strongly agree that this indiscriminate disposal of plastic is contributing a lot to water and land pollution. Me, I come from a constituency which is surrounded by a lake, and DNPW and other partners, they spend a lot of money cleaning up the lake. Today, if you went to Itestezi Dam, you see the amount of plastic, the amount of these cylon nets which are just thrown on the lake, and part of the lake is connected to the river. We have had cases where animals, they eat plastic when they are doing grazing, and we agree that the amount of effects of plastic is so huge and it causing a lot of harm to the economy. So from the caucus point of view, we're on firm grounds. We were the happiest when we heard that the minister is wanting to effect measures, fiscal measures, that will bring about stop to the use of plastic. And what would want to encourage various stakeholders, the chain stores. I'm aware that we still have chain stores that are still giving out plastic. And sometimes you'd wonder even the amount of encouragement. When you go on the till, they are the ones encouraging you to get as much plastic as possible. And for me, normally I would tell them, no, I think we should save the environment. So even the mindset of the people who work in these chain stores, they need to be tuned a bit. Go to Rwanda, you will never see plastic anyhow. So we are on firm ground and we are in support as a caucus, and we believe that the best would actually banning it completely. Because when you look at its benefits versus the damage that plastic is causing to our environment is so huge. The drainages in Lusaka, the major cause of poor drainage in Lusaka, it's nothing rather than the plastic. So we're on firm grounds. We appreciate the step which was taken, and it is as a result of the talking that we've continued having with the ministry through the caucus.
Okay.
And we are very happy.
Earlier on with Doc, he did briefly talk about the issue to do with the green bonds, and we did see quite good figures that the government has realized from this. And maybe the question would be, what could be your thoughts on green bonds to finance sustainable projects, and how can we ensure that these funds are used effectively to support environmental conservation efforts? I know you, and together with the Minister of Green Economy, are trying to fight these, putting together efforts to make sure that we realize the goals that have been set.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the concept of green bonds, to me, it's still a new concept in this country. I think we haven't done enough, and you are aware, just like the PS did mention, the government is now working around frameworks, working around guidelines. But myself, who is representing a rural constituency, I'll tell you that these green bonds have been in existence through banks. I know that certain banks like Zanaco, they've been championing the green bonds. But myself, who represents the poor people, I believe that the green bonds have not been accessed by a poor person. And if you check on average how many cooperatives, how many community-based groups have had an opportunity to access the green bonds, maybe the number is very limited, or perhaps it is zero. So what we are looking forward is, as we advance our agenda of ensuring that we come up with this sustainable financing through the green bonds, it should trickle down to the lowest community. Right now, we have CDF, which is also a window for financing. And I want to challenge the PS here. The type of proposals, boss, if you look at the CDF guidelines, they even give an opportunity for people to make proposals which are green through the CDF grant, through the CDF loans. But alas, if we did an analysis today to say out of the 116 districts from what is already existing, how many constituencies have done a project which is green? Perhaps the answer would be zero. most of the people, what they are asking for is chicken rearing, goat keeping. Others are even proposing projects that are deforesting our environment.
Being a member of parliament who's passionate, and a lot of charcoal come from your constituency, Teji, we do see trucks laden with charcoal. But why are you not influencing local communities to come up with such proposals that you're bringing out here?
So basically, that is the reason why person have been demanding that this ministry should be funded. The district offices, they have no capacity to support us, person. As I speak right now, there's a community PS where in Chifi Musungwa, where I've got the Ila forest. There's massive deforestation. We have mobilized the resources, local resources with my forest team to go and do an operation there. One of the senior chiefs called that there is adverse deforestation. So I went beyond my way as a champion myself to engage his office, and today they'll be going there to clamp the massive deforestation which is going there. But they have no vehicle. They've never done an inventory of their forest. And that's the reason why, as a caucus, we are even if I was saying this budget has grown from 0.4 to 0.6, it's not even enough. The capacity by his office at district level, do you know the amount of funding they get on a monthly basis? Less than 10,000. Meanwhile, places like Itese is one of the most deforested constituencies. We have two forests.
Yes, less than 10,000. Is that true? What the minister is advancing here?
I don't have the figures off my fingers, but just to agree with him that yes, we do have operational challenges, especially at district level. And you remember that is where it matters most. Actually, here in Zambia, we've never recovered fully from the time we let go of the forest guards, Wakapenda Mavula, because the forest is in the bush, and that's where those people used to stay to protect the forests. So yes, we do have some operational challenges at the district level, but again, we are making some little efforts. I think this year we should have bought about 5-6 vehicles, and a number of them we've sent them to those places. Yes, the capacity to do inventory, basically inventory is to see how much tree stock you have there. We've bought some equipment because we have the environmental fund, again, which comes through the treasury. We bought some equipment to allow at least each district to do some kind of inventory, which can be a baseline and a basis for planning.
I know the country is very excited, the discovery of gold in various places in our country. But the minister did briefly talk about this issue. I know it comes with a lot of challenges. Unregulated use of mercury and other hazardous chemicals. In his address, he did say, in mining activities, these things pose a danger, poisoning rivers, soil, and affecting communities that depend on these resources for survival. Government has intensified measures to curb the use of mercury in mining activities, particularly in artisanal and small-scale operations. These measures include strengthening enforcement against illegal mining, promoting mercury-free gold processing technology. This is a new challenge for your ministry, and I think you never saw this coming. But how is the situation on the ground?
Yeah, that's quite a big challenge, and it's mostly in gold processing as it is there. At the moment, most of the people who are in the gold sector, especially small-scale miners, they use mercury as the main way of processing that gold. Now, mercury is very harmful for the environment. So yes, because of those activities, there's quite a lot of pollution that is going on. Through ZEMA, again, we're trying to see how we can curb that situation. But the real solution will come in providing the alternative processing methods that do not use mercury. So again, there we have to start from somewhere. Through ZEMA, again, I think we have a project which is coming out, which is going to establish, I think, about 6 or so centers that use mercury-free gold processing. The Ministry of Mines also are working, I think it's about 2 or 3 gold processing centers that do not use mercury. The challenge there is that for mercury-free processing facilities, the facility has to be relatively large. So there is some kind of big capital input to put it up, which most of these small-scale miners cannot afford. But yes, in the meantime, we continue with increased compliance monitoring to try and discourage the miners who are using mercury, because you see the water pollution happens immediately from the wash plant straight into the river, and the pollution is instant. So we really have to do a lot through ZEMA to try and discourage most of those activities.
The number that we are using if you wish to take part on today's program is 0978-772801, 0978-772801. Keep sending those text messages, but I say we can also like our Facebook page, the National Assembly of Zambia, and let's know where you're watching us from. And if you have any question or concerning, make sure that you utilize those facilities. Today we look at environmental sustainability. My two guests, I do have Iteji, Member of Parliament, Mr. Twambo Mutinta, and I also have the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, and this is Dr. Dauti Chibamba. Shortly I'll be reading your text messages. Honorable, we talked about the issue to do with mercury, and the PS has clarified and the measures that his ministry is putting in place. The question still stands. How can you, as a Member of Parliament, make sure that communities affected by mercury contamination in mining areas receive the support and compensation in mining they need, and what role can government play in addressing this issue? I know you're an advocate, based on your caucus.
Yeah, thank you so much. So as a caucus, we are also concerned with this unregulated use of mercury. And just like you gave a description, the worst thing is that this is more prominent in the artisanal mining. And the artisanal mining is a direction that the government is promoting. So we're at a point where there's been a lot of cry around formalization of the artisanal mining, and the president has made it very clear that can we give opportunities to the women, to the youths through artisanal mining. So as a caucus, we're also very much alert to see to it that this artisanal and the small scale mining, which means well, which is empowering the disadvantaged people, do not cause a lot of harm. So these are the issues that are emerging issues. They are issues that perhaps we did not foresee, even in our strategic plan as a caucus. But we always believe that there will always be emerging issues. We were displeased by the recent poisoning of the Kafue River, and as a caucus, we did make a statement that we were demanding for accountability. So looking at this matter, which is emerging now, where there is a lot of indiscriminate use of mercury in wanting to extract gold and to clean the gold, I think as a caucus it's something that we are not very happy of, and we are putting our eye to see to it that we work with the responsible ministries on how we ensure that the artisanal small-scale mining, which I know that government also wants to control it, because you can only put up control measures if you are controlling the process. Initially, people were digging, people were mining anyhow, anywhere, no regulation, no registration, without knowing who is doing what. And we are very happy that now government is trying to bring some level of sanity amidst other people not being happy. But as a caucus, we are supporting the stance that government is taking to regulate small-scale mining, ensuring that the small-scale miners are registered, ensuring that there is an inventory of who is doing what. And if that is done, then it will be very easy for us to use smart technologies without again causing harm to our environment. Because we are talking about these mining activities also causing a lot of land degradation. And I went to Germany at some point for a training on issues to do with land degradation, and we learned how other countries, even in an area where it was a former mine, they are able to use technologies and build that area into a dam, and they turn it into a tourism space. But that can only work when you are using technologies that will not cause harm to the waters, technologies that will not cause harm to the wildlife, technologies that will not cause harm to the animals to the ecosystem that is surrounding those areas. So this is something which is alarming. We are very much concerned as a caucus, and we are wanting to work very close with the relevant ministers that this issue, before it becomes a big issue, we need to curb it.
Okay. All right. Doc, the member of Parliament for Iteji has brought quite a number of issues to do with mining as well. I'm sure this has posed a huge challenge on your ministry, looking at mining cuts across different ministries. I know the custodians, the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development. But how are you making sure that you work with your partners in the Ministry of Mining to make sure that the issue of illegal mining and its environmental impact is addressed?
We work with Ministry of Mines very closely. Even this thing they are doing about formalizing, you remember they were training people in Mufumbwe. Our environmental experts are there to be part of that training. So in terms of working together, there's not a single problem. Actually, also we give thanks to Honorable Mutinta here and his caucus. We work very closely together. If there's anything that needs all of us to be in one place, the caucus, ourselves, Ministry of Mines, anybody, Ministry of Water, it's a phone call away, it's a WhatsApp message away. So we work very closely with them. So even when we are trying to address all these challenges, we are always in one room and speaking to one another and see how we put hands together to try and resolve the problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face, more especially from these illegal miners? I'll cite an example of Mufumbwe in Kikonge area.
Yeah.
We've seen people living these trenches.
Yeah.
And earlier on we were just talking about the issue to do with mercury, water pollution and environmental pollution.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenge that you face with the coming in of these gold discoveries?
So two things, like the Honorable Member has mentioned, environmental degradation. You see the ditches that are left behind. But most importantly, most problematic is the pollution, water pollution. Because with mercury, the pollution is instant. Once the gold is washed and it goes, the waste goes in the water.
Okay.
But if you look at this issue of illegal mining, it also has got a security angle, and I think the President has pronounced himself several times that first of all is to try and stop the illegality, because it is only when the illegality has been stopped properly then these compliance measures become more effective. So I think the President is on record. He has said no to illegal mining, and so there we also have to join hands with security wings to ensure that first and foremost these places are safe before we can send our inspectors in those places.
Honorable Mutinta, the issue to do with development, I'm sure a commerce minister will need development, will need factories to be put in place, and the Minister of Finance also needs his envelope to be full, because these envelopes can only be full if we have development in our country. But again, we need to strike a balance. How can we balance the need of economic development with the need to protect the environment? Because these two, at times, they conflict each other.
Yeah, thank you so much. So life is about striking a balance. Right now, the stakeholders in the budget, they are also asking why government, in the Ministry of Mines budget, government has hugely invested in production. I think you are aware that the Ministry of Mines budget, the huge chunk has gone towards production, where the artisanal small-scale miners sit. And there's been a significant reduction on issues around monitoring, issues around safety, and they're asking that. But again, you see, you cannot take away the fact that we're at a point where certain ministries, they give us resources. You are aware that foreign exchange, and we are now championing a budget which is domestically financed, and the major source of that domestic financing has to come from the mines, not until we diversify our economy. And that's the reason why the government is also trying to diversify our economy through the tourism sector, through agriculture. But right now, the truth of the matter is that we depend on mining, and there's been a push towards this government to unlock the mining sector, especially unlocking it for the artisanal small-scale miner. And government has responded by putting a bigger chunk of its budget towards production, which is artisanal. But the question is, how do we now deal with monitoring? How do we now deal with safety issues? How do we now deal with issues around compensation? Because as we continue expanding these mines, there will be people that will need to be compensated, there will be people that will need to be dispersed. So I'm not saying that these other elements that comes with development will be overlooked. Government is also very much alive, and even us as a caucus, we are also very much alive to issues that will emerge as a result of the massive, there's a 3 million target that government is endeavoring to achieve, and that 3 million target, it also comes with its own benefits. But for such an ambitious target, it also comes with side effects. And I know that when this ambitious target was being set, like he did mention, the other ministries, they are also alive. Ministry of Gender, there will be issues of displacement. You cannot overlook that. There will be issues of displacement to areas where there will be massive investment. How shall issues of compensation for women, for children be taken care of? The issues of safety. If we're having 10 accidents, it's just common knowledge that we'll be having 20 accidents in the mines. Because we've expanded our production.
Now let me bring in the doc. Doc, the Minister of Agriculture is pushing. He wants to record another bumper harvest, and they want to clear a big chunk of land and make sure that trees are cleared. And your ministry again is saying we need to promote afforestation. How do you strike the balance? A similar question that I posed to the Honorable Member for Iteji. And again, the Minister of Mines as well is saying, no, I need investment in the mining sector. There are some good discoveries here and there. And you're at the center of all these things.
Yeah, indeed, we've got a balancing act to do. Whether in mining, as we increase mining production, we expect that environmental impacts will increase. And that is where we have to up our game in terms of regulating what is happening there. In the agriculture sector, if you've listened in the past years, the approach is not so much about extensification, but it is about productivity. I think the President has pronounced himself several times and repeated on this one, saying let's increase productivity. So that 10 million tons of maize, I think it is being premised on productivity. The President is giving us a challenge to say, can we increase productivity? Instead of producing 2 metric tons per hectare, can we take it to 8? Can we take it to 12? So again, this one government approach, when we sit down with our colleagues from Ministry of Agriculture, whom we work with very closely, that's a conversation that we're having to say, instead of extending the fields, why don't we produce much more from the already cleared field?
Okay.
So I think the policy guidance at the moment is let's get to 10 million through increasing productivity rather than expanding the field size.
Earlier on, you talked about issues to do with the 250 automatic weather stations and the 300 rainfall stations installed across the country.
Yeah.
I should also maybe acknowledge and congratulate you. Lately, maybe the past 3-4 years, information has been correct in terms of rain forecast.
Yeah.
We do see the Minister of Environment and Green Economy on the floor of the House announcing, giving the projection of the rainfall pattern, and of which it has come to pass based on the facts that the Minister has presented on the floor of the House. But the question is, how are you going to make sure that these facilities are maintained and updated regularly to continue providing accurate and reliable weather updates?
Yeah, that's a good question. You see, this is very high-tech equipment and it's very sensitive, so it needs regular equipment. It needs regular maintenance if you have to keep it for many years. So again, thanks, in this year's in 2026 budget, there's a specific allocation, I think it's about 5-10 million kwacha, specifically for maintenance. And also when we work with our partners like the World Meteorological Organization, there's a program there they are doing which they call early warning for all. Again, from those sources, we do ask for components specifically to maintain the equipment.
Okay.
This equipment is very sensitive. If you don't have a regular maintenance plan, then you lose it. So yes, thanks this year the Treasury has given us some money to maintain the equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your comment, Honorable, your caucus,
Yeah.
I'm sure these are the things that you've been following together with Honorable Wamunyima and Honorable Kasando as well, because you're very, and other members, you did mention that you have more than 100 membership
It's the largest, actually.
in this caucus. And
Yeah.
the minister talked about these automatic weather stations, about 300 rainfall stations installed across the country, and 250 automatic weather stations.
Yeah, so we are excited with the steps that are being taken, because when you want to deal with environmental issues, they should be holistic in nature. Like he did mention, you'd be looking at agriculture, infrastructure, and these weather stations. They will play a very significant role in preparing our farmers, in also helping our communities to understand how they can manage their roads, and in many other facets of life. But from the caucus point of view, person, I want to mention that sometimes we are at pains when we look at how much we have not collectively agreed that we need to invest in this ministry. I know that government is struggling with resources considering where we are coming from, but our aspiration is to see that this ministry be one of the ministries that should be well funded. I know I'm coming from a background where this ministry was not there, and just like I did mention earlier on, we cannot have a situation where our districts have got no vehicles. If I'm to tell the history of where I come from, PS, it has been in existence for 27 years. They've never owned a vehicle. They've never owned a motorbike. If you check the office where my staff are operating, it's a 1x2. They are all crowding there. Now look at how strategic a constituency like it is with 3 forests, with the Kafue National Park, but the district offices are not funded. And even from what we have given this ministry this year, it might not even manage to equip the districts. If we can't even do an inventory of how much trees we have, then we will not even know how much deforestation we are doing. We will not even be strategic how we are going to preserve our environment. So from the caucus point of view, I think our target, our focus now is to continue pushing the Treasury to see how this ministry should be funded, because we believe that this ministry is a driver of this economy. There is a lot of distraction which is being done as a result of bad mindset. There is a lot of distraction which is being done as a result of the times we are in, the weather patterns. But if we are to invest in being strategic by investing in this ministry, then we are going to protect the agriculture sector, we are going to protect the infrastructure sector, we are going to protect a lot of sectors, and we are going to green our economy, and our country will not be the same. So we believe that it's an advocacy issue. We'll get there, but we are very happy that we are seeing things happening. There is a difference from where we are coming from, but we feel we can do better.
All right, we have about maybe under 2 minutes to conclude. We're unable to read some text messages because we had a technical hitch here, but nevertheless, we've received your text messages, and we'll be able to look at them a little later. The issue to do with carbon market, it's something that the Minister of Finance talked about, and he did say that government has also been implementing the emission reduction program, a mechanism through which participating groups and communities are provided with monetary rewards for conserving natural resources. And he emphasized that so far 56 chiefdoms in Eastern Province are participating in the program. Further, 359 community forest groups across the country have been designated over 10 million hectares as forest management areas. How is this working, and how is it benefiting the local people? But why only Eastern Province?
That's a good question. So carbon trading is a very big opportunity for us in Zambia. If we can manage to keep our forests intact, we could earn billions of dollars from carbon trading. Why Eastern Province alone? The idea is not just to do in Eastern Province. It's a place where we did a pilot, because what we are doing in Eastern Province is a jurisdictional program. jurisdictional simply means boundary. So we've gone in Eastern Province and said, instead of doing small bits of projects within the province, why don't we put all of them together and do the whole province?
Okay.
So yes, in Eastern Province we are running a carbon project there. In fact, we have carbon credits which are coming up for sale in the next few months.
Okay.
We have 5.1 million tons of carbon credits which we must find a buyer for. So they are just being audited now so that they can be certified as being real carbon credits, as being credible.
At the expense of development, I asked this question. Is the money equivalent to what you could realize if you invested or if you took industries in that area?
More than the industry, maybe.
Okay. Because
for those 5 million carbon credits that we have, for a period of 7 years, our gross income, expected income, is around 240 million US dollars, out of which a net of $119 million will go to the local communities.
Okay.
$119 million is not a small amount. So this is why I'm telling. And remember, what limits the amount is the amount of trees that we have which should capture the carbon.
How are these communities identified? And how transparent is the process?
The process is very transparent. Before we form a community forest management group, we must consult all the community members. For the forestry department to issue the offer to say this group can go ahead and work, we must see the signatures and phone numbers and names of each one of those community members who want to be part of this group.
Okay.
So that process is very transparent. What has been the problem is that in the past, carbon trading was done by the private sector. So there were issues of lack of transparency around that process. This is why we've gone to Eastern Province to do the jurisdictional project. What the jurisdictional project entails is that we are going to agree together with the communities and the investors on what is called the benefit sharing plan. We develop the benefit sharing plan together so that at the start we know how much investment has been put in this program.
What is your next destination? I know Teji is eagerly waiting.
Our next destination is Muchinga.
Okay.
Yeah, we are developing one for Muchinga, but of course we have been given matching orders to see if we can quickly move to the whole country. But the only trick is it needs a lot of upfront capital, because once you form those community groups, you need upfront investment in alternative livelihoods, because you should give those people other means of survival apart from cutting trees for charcoal.
Honorable Twambo, under a minute, I know we're running out of time.
So a quick one, carbon trading is an emerging issue. So what we are doing as a caucus, we are ensuring that we keep a watch. Particularly, we are aspiring that the disclosure mechanism on carbon financing, we want our communities to have that information, because we are demanding accountability also in carbon trading, because it's an emerging issue. It's a very technical issue. There are people that think when we're talking about carbon trading, you have to carry the carbon, put it in a truck and take it somewhere. So we are investing in building capacity in our communities to understand the concept. It's not an easy concept, it's a jargon to others, and our community should get the right information. Then also the issue of community beneficiation is a big issue. I'm aware that in certain areas there are already fights between the chiefs and the communities. That is another thing that we want the investors, people that are in carbon trading to also be very open and engage members of parliament. We don't want to be engaged at a point when they're sharing, they start fighting, then they come to us. That is something we're working against. Then lastly, also the issue of coordination. We need comprehensive mechanisms in the carbon trading value chain, in its cycle, so that when the benefits are being shared, the community should be very happy. We went to Kenya as a caucus just to go and learn how in Kenya they are doing it. At what level? You talked about the jurisdiction. These are the issues that we learned in how they are doing it in Kenya. And we are watching the space, but more important, we appreciate that it can be a vehicle that can grow this country if it is managed very well. But we are watching that it should be done in a correct way, in a transparent way, and the community should have full information
Okay.
on how carbon trading is taking place.
I need to acknowledge the people that are with us on our social media, the National Assembly of Zambia Facebook page. Thank you so much to Tyson Elephant Piri, Chiza Junior Jowo, Edicius Kawin Stali, Nicholas Komesha, Nicholas Mukumbi, Brian Oji, and Jonathan Mukoka. Thank you so much for being with us. And I also have Sidin Mwambakasia, Neria Peregelekelo, Blessed Wamundila, Bupe Ngombe, and Andy Chimenge. Those are with us on our Facebook page there. As we come to the end of this interesting topic, I know issues to do with the environment are very close to my heart. So are they to you too as well? And that's the reason why we're here and having this very interesting conversation. I'll start with Dr. Pierce. Your concluding remarks regarding the 2026 national budget, the things that we've discussed. What should be, what should the people expect from your ministry come 2026?
Yeah, from our ministry, 2026 budget, they should expect a lot more presence of our officers on the ground. For MET, for 2026, it's a good year for us. We expect 100 additional automatic weather stations, which is not a small number. And you know, weather is the foundation. Once we get things right in weather, then all the other things come in place.
Okay.
And we also just appreciate Honorable Mutinta and his team. They are very supportive. I mean, as you can hear, as if he's in the ministry.
We know the figures that
they really support us. So, Honorable, we have
These are the people that appropriate the
we
money
are
that.
so grateful for your support, and we just ask that we keep working together.
Okay. In developed countries, maybe
Yeah.
quickly, Honorable, you cannot leave home in the morning without listening to the weather forecast for the
Yeah.
day. But in Zambia, it's a different scenario. What are you doing as a minister to make sure that the weather is on point, people get the information early in the morning, midday, and in the afternoon? Because we don't know how heat or the temperatures will be at midday, or how are we doing to make sure that the Zambians are aware of the weather?
What we are doing at the moment, if you listen to any radio station, I always listen to the radio station when I'm going to work, and there's always a weather bulletin there. Every radio station, when there's a news, there's weather. On WhatsApp, they always share the bulletin. Actually, I can brag a little bit again. When we tell you tomorrow is going to be very hot, please drink water. That tomorrow is going to be very hot. When we tell you that tomorrow is going to be very cold, that tomorrow is going to be very cold. Yes, on most of these radio stations, there's always a weather element there. On TV, we have weather, so of course we can do more. The people, officers that met, are working on an app. So which app now, once they develop it, we are also going to share. Maybe on your phone, you can just go there, you click, and then it tells you exactly what the weather is, where or at your location, and maybe what it will be like in the next 1 hour or so.
All right, Honorable, quickly, your concluding remarks regarding the 2026 national budget, and I know your committee is sitting at Mulungushi Conference Center. Maybe just under 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think for us, we appreciate the Treasury for a slight adjustment upward to the budget to the green economy. We are very happy. But ours is a pressure group. We'll continue engaging government, we'll continue engaging the Treasury, that this ministry starts functioning as we desire to function. So we are seeing a lot of efforts being done in investing in the weather, understanding the weather better. We are seeing a lot of structural processes being set up since it's a new ministry, but we believe that we can move at a more faster speed by also decentralizing its functionalities. And ours is to continue pushing the budget, and if an opportunity arises, we might even propose for a supplementary budget so that additional investment is done to this ministry. They buy vehicles in all the 116
Who's your first witness today as chairperson of local government committee?
Okay, so for local government, we're having a union. So we're meeting a union who's giving a recommendation to to our budget.
All right,
That's it to you.
Doc and Mr. Mutinta, thank you so much for finding time and be with us today on this very important topic. We're looking at environmental sustainability in line with the 2026 national budget, the pronouncements that the Minister of Finance made a few days ago, and wishing you all the best. I know your ministry, has it appeared before any committee yet or yet to?
Yes, we have already.
Oh, okay. How was the experience?
They are colleagues. They are
Okay.
friends.
All right, there you have it. Thank you so much, our viewers and our listeners on radio for taking time, and those of you that have been following us on our socials. I must say thank you so much for your time. Tomorrow we do have a very interesting topic. I won't let the cat out of the bag. What I can just urge you is to be with us tomorrow in the morning, and as we look at yet another interesting topic. My two guests for today have been Mr. Twamba Mutinta, Teji Member of Parliament. He is co-chairperson of the Zambia Parliamentary Caucus on Environment and Climate Change, ZPCECC, and I also had the privilege to play host to Dr. Dauti Chibamba, who is Permanent Secretary, Minister of Green Economy and Environment. My name is Paulson Tindovi. My sign language interpreter has been Chola Kaoma. And those of you that have been following us, thank you so much. Let's do this tomorrow, and keep watching and listening to Parliament as we continue broadcasting live various committees that are interacting with various committees. Thank you so much for your time.